Ancient signet ring handed to me by a sexy 70s woman. I call her the Ivory Lady. He was Brownman. I was 17, hitchhiking to the city for the first time.
Hey, want a lift?
Oh, I'm alright, mate. I'll keep walking.
Oh, come on. Your feet must be killing you in those boots. Are you heading into town? Oh, move that stuff in the back. We just picked up all this stuff from this op shop in Wangaratta. Unbelievably cheap. You like this shirt?
He's staring at it very intensely.
Here you are. You can have it if you want.
Whoa! Let it all hang out, Ivy!
Hey, where are you heading, sunshine?
I heard there's a rock festival, a farm somewhere. I'm trying to get tickets. This has got a lot of scripts for a beat up.
What's your name?
Ken.
Hey, we've just been up to Sydney. Checking out the Anzac Day March?
We are the young who did what you said. Now we lie here because we're dead.
Do you guys go to uni?
I'm doing arts and archaeology. We were going to go up to Lake Mungo to dig up some bones, but the beetle shit itself. Oh, he's been at uni so long he can't remember what course he's in. Where are you staying?
Up there, like seaweed and coral, the iron lace of the terrace.
I've never seen so many records and books. What's this?
That's poetry from a cat called Larry. Just got back from Vietnam. Same hand that wrote that poetry killed 12 Viet Cong in hand-to-hand combat. Self-published.
What's his angle?
He's got a different spin on things. He hates the protesters, hates the government.
He's a chauvinist asshole.
Fate. Chance. The roll of the dice. You know the dice, man? Like conscription, you know?
What do you think of the war, Kenny?
It's stuffed.
Oh, well, what are you going to do now you're in the big city? You want to save up some bread and get overseas, I reckon. Don't stop here.
If you can't afford it, you could think about time travel.
Time travel. I set up at the room at the back.
We need to get your bedroom nice so you can bring girls home. Hey, you want these jeans?
She gave me a pair of jeans she'd worn the bum out of. She walked through to the outside shower, her beach towel over her shoulder, her ivory body shifting through the grainy air. She left a matchbox on the table. Inside the matchbox, Scarab. Oh, what is it? It's a black beetle. It looks Egyptian.
I wouldn't touch that ring if I were you. You don't know where it's been. Those things can have evil power. Could be like the finger of John the Baptist or Napoleon's dick. Could have been ripped off the finger of Tutankhamun.
Oh, yeah, and Chairman Mao runs a shoe shop in Box Hill.
Holding, waiting, watching a man, watching an insect, watching a man. It's 2 a.m. Holding, waiting, watching a man, watching an insect, watching a man. It's 3 a.m. I wanted to be like Brownman.
Real smart.
Moody.
And hard to get to know.
He knew a lot.
About Australian politics and history. There were books on poetry and prehistory and economic structuralist
theories all around the house. He had records on bricks stacked up against the wall, and German magazines, and stuff on New York art in the dunny too. He wore second-hand suits, but they looked really cool. He had a really solid beard. He would have got the shit beaten out of him in Bendigo. Ivy and he were in a group that were putting on a play at the Union Rep called The Origins of Victoria, a melodrama. The actors had handlebar moustaches and shot each other with revolvers. The bit that was controversial was when they came out naked. Everyone went to see it. A lot of the students didn't like them going native. Brownman said,
That's the flaming point.
It's about the start of Melbourne.
Which we know was completely fake. That's why it's so theatrical. That's why we're doing it that way.
It has to be like a travelling tent show like Barnum and Barnum.
After the show, Brownman's blues bands played, and that got everyone swinging from the rafters. One morning after one of those big nights, Brownman hauled me out of the lounge room and dragged me into the city to look at an old statue. He said,
Look at this bloody statue. It's been moved around the city more times than I've moved fucking houses. Let me introduce you. This is the statue of the explorer who discovered nothing.
Right.
Look at his chin and his fine curly bonce. This is the explorer who came here and handed out phony deeds of sale and blankets to the local abbos. He was frontman for our founding fathers, a bunch of Hobart real estate agents. They sent him over to discover it so that they could write to the governor saying they'd bought it off a native, and just to make sure they named it after some old prick in England. Melbourne.
Can we get a toasted cheese and tomato sandwich over the chat?
Now, after declaring this was the perfect place for a village, he found he'd got a taste for exploring, so he pushed on, took a pair of knuckleheads up north and disappeared in the great stony fucking desert. Years later, when everyone had forgotten about him, he's wandering around in ever-decreasing circles in the great endless stony plain. Luckily for him, his last companion was an Aboriginal tracker called Wiley. The explorer had picked him up in the Sydney docks, but what he didn't know was that Wiley's tribal grounds were on the other side of this plain. Somehow, after many years and months sucking moss for water, Wiley guided them out of the desert until they found themselves walking through a fucking tea grove in southwestern Australia. As they walked, Wiley's relatives began reappearing behind the trees, looking like they'd seen a ghost. They were. They'd long given Wiley up for dead, and now he was returning, having walked across the whole continent barefoot, a conquering fucking hero. The explorer, on the other hand, was bundled onto a clipper ship heading east, where there was no one to greet him when he arrived in port. He hauled his papers and his specimens to Government House, but was refused entry by the doorman. Only after he collapsed on the doorstep and the governor's 13-year-old daughter begged her father was he put up in a bungalow out the back, which is now part of the fucking botanical gardens. And it was in this bungalow that the explorer told the governor's daughter about an ancient Scarab ring he'd been given by another old explorer out in the desert, which he'd carried back to the city in his trunk. Yeah, and that's the ring you're wearing on your finger right now.
Brownie! Where are you going? Hey, I haven't got a tram ticket, hey! You got any dosh?
The Vice Squad closed the show down.
Hey, you piss-weak copper bastard! Ah, theatre's a fucking bourgeois institution anyway. I'm done with it!
Then things got wobbly and whiny.
There's no firewood. I said there's no fucking firewood, so he put on his beanie and his sunnies and he's headed out to Mooralbark. Well, you haven't heard the car at the front yet, have you? Oh, I've got to get bush. The city makes me feel like shit. Oh, look at you. You're pasty white. Oh, get those stupid pointy boots off. You've got to walk around barefoot. Feel the dirt and the stones on the soles of your feet. Hey, look, there's this old SEC hut about 2.5 hours drive from here. We could leave on Friday night and make it Saturday morning. There's no power. You have to climb the fence. There's some old army mattresses we can drag out. There's nothing there. And that's what I like about it. I don't dig progress. We laugh our little Western heads off, laugh at the pygmies of New Guinea with their wooden totems, and how they thought aeroplanes in the 1960s were big gods dropping out of the sky. But look at our totems. Cars, telephones, televisions, buildings, dead objects. That's why the city drives me crazy. It's a huge man-made breast everyone's madly wrapping their lips around. To go forward, you've got to go way, way back. When you're out there, you won't be wearing much. The rat is back. It's under the brick. Fuck it.
I couldn't find the key.
Where have you been?
With Larry. Who's here?
Take your sunnies off, Lancelot.
Me?
Come inside. Where's the firewood?
No firewood.
No fucking firewood. What have you been doing?
What's happening?
Well, what's going down at Muralbark? Give me a look at your arms. Oh, you're a fucking
What's
mess.
he doing here?
That's Ken, your housemate. Let me introduce you. You know, Mr. Cheaper Rent for Everybody.
Don't you
I'm
recognise me?
going upstairs.
You don't tell me when you're going off to get stoned, do ya?
Get him out of here, he's bad news!
I moved out of the hippie scene. I started wearing straight leg jeans. I saw them once in a while, dried out, old hippie fossils, crossing the road to the 7-Eleven at 4 a.m. I wore the ring most days. At night I kept it on my bedside table. Even when I moved out to the suburbs, I wore it on my finger. I got my hair cut and became a city worker. But I was nervous and irritated. The experience at the terrace disturbed me. I felt I had touched a raw nerve of the city. I walked up to the entrances of city offices. I'd hear Brownman's voice as if he was behind me.
What are these buildings but projections of men's vanity, ambitions and delusions? Like an Egyptian king, they seek to immortalise themselves in stone. But how come it looks just like a bad copy of a Midlands English town?
I found a Scientific American in Brownman's backyard dunny. The Scarab beetle can survive anything, even the nuclear blast. To the Egyptians, it represented the cycle of life. The Egyptians saw the beetle pushing a ball of dung in front of it. Mistakenly, they believed that it was a female protecting the egg of its young. For them, it was the daily symbol of regeneration, the symbol for creating new life. Western scientists have now shown that it is really the male beetle who is pushing a pile of dung in front of it.
And that's what it is. Dung. Come on, get it all over you, Kenny.
Like a city worker, every day.
Come on, Kenny. Come on, cover yourself in muck. Get on in your face and in your hair. Roll around in it.
Making their way to the dung heap!
Smear it all over me. Rub it on my back. Come on. Oh, look at you, mudman.
I caught the train back and forth to the city every day. The beetle had attached itself to me, buried itself at the base of my spine. I could feel it spreading its poison through me. The blotches and the rashes pushing up from under my skin. I looked at the city through jaundiced eyes. I had bad juju running through my veins. The Scarab lit up the city at night. The Scarab patched the traffic patterns in wrong. Drunken sailors gathered on street corners at dusk. The eyes of the drivers in their cars brimming with fear. The Scarab stood up in the dust. The Scarab speaks.